Hi, everybody. I am Sandy Shook. I am here because of the mission that I have to actually spread hope to others that have had setbacks or, I guess, pivotal moments in their lives that might have actually changed their lives, but to show that even with those pivotal moments, things can actually turn out pretty well. Today I have Sonya with me, and I just wanted to thank you for coming and visiting with me and getting in front of the camera, which is always our favorite thing to do.
So I'm Sonya Emph with Red Bow Realty, and I got a call one day. I was sitting in my office, and you introduced yourself, and it just clicked from there. Usually, phone calls are a little dry and impersonal. And when we started talking, I actually looked forward to when you invited me to have coffee, which is kind of unusual because usually like, okay, let's give it a go. And when we got together in person, it just bloomed from there. It was the most natural connection, just a genuine friendship that started, which I feel helped me to grow in my business and think of other avenues of how to help people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I was so excited to actually have you in the office because I actually did realize that I was sitting across from somebody that I questioned, how did I end up being so lucky to have somebody like you in the office? Because of what you've gone through and what you've actually, where your life was and where you now are in real estate. So I guess I just wanted to start out with, the question that I ask everybody. And one of the questions or the first question is always, what did you want to be when you were in second grade? That might have been like when you were 10, but maybe,
No, so that's
8 to 10-ish, somewhere around.
7. Well, I entered school early and I graduated early.
Okay.
So for me, very lofty goals for a tyke. I wanted to be a doctor and a pilot.
Oh.
But I wanted to be the kind of doctor that would get on a plane and travel to help people.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
And I didn't know that was not a thing.
Yeah.
That's just what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat. When you were that young?
When I was that young.
Wow. And did you see it on like Fantasy Island or?
Right? Yeah, I don't know where I saw that. I mean, wouldn't have been in one of the books I would have read that time, but I don't know where I came up with that concept.
That's really neat.
But it's just something that actually carried with me for years. And I almost did go into the medical field. But after my mom had cancer when she was only 48, that detoured me because at that point I thought, how can I really help people, give of people if I'm still mourning for my mom? So, and I know some people might look at that like, well, you could have went on to help people, but I was still kind of like in self at that point because I was very young.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, so then fast forward to high school. When you graduated from high school, did that change or?
No, I still wanted to do that. I actually did start college to do the medical field. And I was actually going to go into the Air Force to do nursing.
Oh, wow.
To at least, get that education and go from there. So, and still wanted to fly. So I did start taking flying lessons, and I used to work for an airline for a few years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, until one of them went defunct. No name shall be named.
It might have been the one that I went to Florida or Hawaii for the first time.
Well, by that time when I started working for the airline, so I got into my first house. I was 24 when I bought it.
Oh, wow.
Still friends with my realtor. And I thought how he does business is how it should be done. I didn't know that not everybody does business like that. And because he's amazing. And so working for the airline, and about 6 months after I bought the house, the airline went kaput.
They changed.
And there I was
ownership.
going, now I got to figure out how to buy groceries.
Wow.
Good times.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So you were in real estate way back then. Well, okay, not way back then. I'm not really aging you, but.
So I did buy a house early. But a lot of it too is my parents really worked with me on, which is unusual, on saving your money, saving a little bit out of each paycheck, and don't get a credit card unless you get paid off the next month. They worked with me on finances then.
Wow, so early on.
Early. So even when in elementary school, they would play board games with us, Yahtzee, Monopoly. You know, here we thought, oh, this is fun. You know, we were learning counting and good sportsmanship and all the things.
Yeah, yeah. So what, did both your parents work then, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it that your dad did?
So he was, a plant manager for quite a while. We moved around a good bit. I moved 9 times before I was 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
so where did you start? I mean, where were you, do you know where you were born?
Right. It's quite the little, it is quite the little, So started in Ohio.
Okay.
And then we went to Arizona, Texas, back to Ohio, to Virginia, and then Lexington, Kentucky.
And not military related at all?
No.
Wow. Okay.
My dad was military prior to my existence, but yeah.
Okay.
And then he went on to work in plants and with machines and that type of thing. And yeah, my mom did, she started out, it was called a key punch operator. You know, they had the big old huge computer rooms that had to be cooled and air conditioned. And then she went into, after, you know, technology started to progress. And so that job, you know, became extinct. So she stayed with the same company and went on to do accounts payable.
Oh,
that type of thing.
Okay.
So she went back to school and had to learn. Both of my parents were fantastic at math. And so it was
obviously if they taught you how to do budgeting.
Yeah, it was natural for them. So we didn't think anything of it. You know, but they were so amazing at calculating. Don't tell them that you're at Amy's house when, you know, Amy's house is only 7.3 miles away, and that should take you approximately XYZ amount to walk home. So where were you really? So yeah, it's great being a kid of a mathematician. That's great. I also went to my grandparents' farm every summer. For me, it was a blast because there's all kinds of animals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, they had a horse, they had the cows, the chickens, the pigs. I had chores.
And you helped with all of it?
I did. Well, not all of it, but most of it. And so they had a few acres. So it was literally hills, like 3 hills that met.
Oh, okay.
And so they would grow their own vegetables and all that. And so, yeah. So
did you, did they have a lot of land then, or like you had to go pick rocks? So I grew up in my small town. I was a townie, or whatever you want to call us. You know, we did not live on the farm, but we were part of the small little people that lived inside the town, and staying at friends' houses, you know, we would go and help on the weekends, you know, unbeknownst to me sometimes, you know, but we would go help. Like one weekend it was, you know, we got up early and we went out to the fields, and I'm like, and realized that I got to help pick rocks, and they were giant rocks.
Oh, wow.
You know, but it was just so that they could, you know, get the ground ready for planting. I don't know if it was corn.
More my parents' generation. My mom and her brother. My mom was the oldest of 8 kids, I think it was. And so, like, it was fantastic being a grandkid in my family. Fantastic. Like, we got spoiled, you know, where do you want this or that? Let me cook you something. You know, my mom was like, go to your chores.
Yeah. What kind of meals did your grandma make? Do you have a favorite that she used to make? She
was an amazing cook. So she was a tiny little woman. She was 5 feet tall, but she could out hike me going up a hill.
Yeah.
Because she worked in the fields alongside the boys, planting the potatoes, corn, working with the animals, all that.
Yeah.
And still went inside and made food. 3 meals a day.
Wow.
And as a grandchild, you also got snacks. And so the biscuits and gravy, that's the comfort food for me. Oh, that reminds me of home.
Yep.
You know, I mean, she could make anything you'd want, you know, but that was the big, like, ooh.
Yeah. my grandma used to make potato soup.
Mm.
And as a kid, she'd make the potato soup and then the really thin pancakes. I don't know. They're probably called something because it's German, right?
It depends on, yeah. In a lot of cases.
And I'm like, every time she made it, now it's like I crave it.
Yes.
And yet I would never know how to even make it unless it's in a package.
I can actually show you.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so then after high school, you became a flight attendant, but then...
No. I worked at the Lexington, Kentucky airport.
Oh.
And I did, it was customer service agent. And so since we were what's called an outstation, our hub was in Atlanta, we were all cross utilized. So we each, instead of just being on the ramp, we also did ticket and also the gate. So we rotated our schedule with that. So I did that. But I took flight lessons on the side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then during the holidays and when flights were canceled, did you ever call in sick?
No, that was high holy sin in my house.
Just at your house?
Just at my house. As a teenager, I tried calling in sick to a job one time. I don't know, whatever it was. Teenagers have weird mindsets. And I call in sick and, I'm doing I can't come in. I hang up. I turn around and there's my mom. And she's calm. She's like, so I understand you're not feeling well.
Nope.
So tell me what's going on. And she said, well, I think you need to call them back and tell them you're feeling much better and fulfill your obligation. And that did start my work ethic.
Yeah.
Don't ever, and she had explained, don't call in sick just for the sake of messing around. Because what if you get in a situation where you really do get sick and you need more time off, and then you're not going to be able to afford your bills because you squandered away all that time.
Yeah.
So I learned early to be a little more on the serious side with things. And then I even went on to volunteer at the hospital for 4 years because that was also part of me wanting to be in that environment.
Yeah. Wow, so, you really did have a plan of attack.
I did. Yeah. So as a teen volunteer, and at that time we were allowed to do a lot more responsibilities than you can nowadays. And so I ran for secretary, and then the next year did vice president up to presidency. But I was so unbelievably shy up until I was 30. Horribly shy. But with the volunteers,
you wouldn't be able to tell now.
Oh, I know. Nobody would believe me now. My family now, they see me now and they're like, what? What happened to you? People that I say, oh, I used to be shy, they're like,
yeah.
Stop. But with that, I learned how to do meetings, because I was with people that I knew, my peers, so I felt more comfortable. Yeah. And that started developing some confidence. So.
Okay, so then how did you end up in real estate?
So with the last job that I had, my boss had luxury estate homes and yachts, waterfront homes, and he wouldn't just move into a house. No. But I got proficient at interviewing and sourcing contractors and layering the different vendors that would come in, keeping everything cohesive. And my boss had these impossible timelines. I'm going to have a party on October 1st. You're like, oh man.
And it's September 15th.
Y'all got to pedal. So I was comfortable with that respect. And it didn't occur to me right away. Like during that time, I thought, oh, that'd be kind of nice because I saw one of his friends become an agent and did pretty well because of him. I'm like, I wouldn't mind, get him a little portfolio going. He's like, yeah, no, you don't have time. Because I worked 7 days a week at that time. So when I came here and, because I did the design, because I decorated all the houses and the boats and whatnot, and I understood, finishes, fabrics, sheens, undertones. And after doing my brother's house, I thought, what I should do. So, yeah. And it's one of those things like, why didn't it occur to me sooner? And I reached out to my real estate agent, Jerry O'Mara, the guy who sold me my house in Atlanta. He has since retired. He's like, you deserve great things. I would love to see you do this. And I said, well, I feel like I'm going to model myself after you. And I'd met a few agents at that point. my husband and I were going, so we're gearheads, we're into cars and stuff, and we're in a car club, and we were going to get a house with a bigger property of the workshop. And the agent that we were working with, there's some things that she had told me that wasn't quite on the up and up. For example, if you want to see a house, you have to give 24-hour notice. I didn't know at the time, I didn't know that wasn't true. Apparently it was her policy. So we wound up missing out on the one.
Oh, wow.
Though it ticked all the boxes. And so when I was looking at the MLS and I said, hey, interesting, how's it possible that this went under contract the first day
it was on the market?
Like, how does that work if there's a 24-hour policy? And she wouldn't answer. And so I wound up calling that agent. And she said, well, no, that's not a policy. And she's looking through her phone. She says, I don't see any contact information or request from this person you're talking about. And she'd ask me, are you under agency with this person? Have you signed an agreement? No. And I said, well, would you work with us? And I'm like, if this, deal falls through, let me know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it went through. Good for them. Good for me.
Yeah.
And so she showed us a few houses and she saw me talking to different people. And she said to me one day, I think you need to be in this business. So what do you, me? Me? She's like, no, I really think you've got the heart for this. I really think this is what you need to be doing. And I thought about it for a little bit and yeah.
Well, and I'm grateful that you're in this business because I never would have met you otherwise. So
it's a tough business.
It is. It's and it's probably been more tough in the last 4 years than anything that we've ever anybody else in the business has gone through previously. But I see your resilience and I see your drive to be better.
Yes.
Even if you're, I don't know what the word is I want to use.
Tenacity.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, because, you're not handed a manual and that says, okay, here's the basics of real estate. It really is a practice. You really do have to figure things out.
Yes.
And you have to keep scratching.
Once that occurred, then where did you focus your time? Not in the medical industry.
No, so at that point, because also affording college at that point was the challenge, and it did make me stop and think, well, where do I go from here? What do I want to do now? And I still had hoped to accomplish some of those things, but sometimes life has other ideas for you. Life gets in the way of our plans. And so I had moved to Atlanta after that. I was working for the airline, and that's where I bought my first house, was in Atlanta. That's where the opportunity was. And did that for a few years. Well, till the airline went kaput. And then I did a couple other jobs. I worked at a major law firm.
Wow, okay, I'm really glad we're having coffee again.
Yeah. Yeah, some people say, you're so private, because most people don't know a lot of this.
Yeah.
Because it is quite the,
Yes.
So I worked for a major law firm for a few years. It's one of those that's the, Forbes 500 and the big marble columns that you see in movies and this kind of thing. And
did you just go to a temp agency to get in there, or did you know some? Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's not the kind of thing you just walk in. Hi.
Well, knowing you,
right? And I'm not above it, right? I'll do it now. So yeah, I got lucky. I was introduced to a lady who ran a temp agency. She did it differently than most people, and she paid the best. And she was so lovely. And because I was so shy, just even getting on the highway, I didn't have a ton of confidence, because in Atlanta, all the different interstates and what have you. So with that, she was so lovely and gentle with me, because I was such a shy person, that she would say, okay, you're going to take her right out of your driveway.
Seriously, she started with
GPSs back then. She was so nice. And you're going to go to the end of the street. You're going to take a right and go on your submission.
Wow.
And you're going to get on this interstate, and then you're going to park in this garage, and it's going to cost you this much. She was really lovely with me. And because of that, I worked extra hard. Because not only did I certainly want more jobs, but I wanted to thank her for, for working with me like that. And so I'd worked at a few different places and got a couple of different job offers, but the one that I wound up going with, that was quite an experience.
Now, were you, so what was it, paralegal or something?
So
I don't know what job descriptions they had.
So they have administrative, and some of it would have some paralegal stuff that goes with it. And then as you make friends with people that you work around and make other connections, I wound up being introduced to the boss that I told you about, the millionaire that I worked for. And I worked for him for about 16 years. So I was introduced through connections. And when I met him, I didn't realize that he was observing me. And because I'm not the kind that'll just sit back, I will dig in. I will, move things around. I'll figure stuff out. I'll pitch in, even though I'm just making myself at home wherever I'm at. And he had observed me and asked somebody that I knew to, said, hey, you having an interview tomorrow? Like, I'll look for a job. I'm fine. And after the interview, and he told me what all was involved, which sounded terribly interesting to me. I walk into this house. Do you remember the show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Oh, yes.
And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, really? That's a girl.
Oh my God. This is like they could swim a bar in the pool. Every bedroom had a sitting room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And when he explained what some of my duties would be, and he said, because you have such a diverse background, I think you would be a great fit. You can figure things out. You think on your feet. And he said, I'm going to be moving to Florida in 3 months, and I'd like you to go with us.
Oh, wow. So the entire team went.
Florida.
No. All the bugs.
Right? More humidity. Atlanta already had enough humidity for me. So, yeah. And it went from there.
Wow.
So every one small decision just kept turning and getting bigger and bigger.
So. And that's what's crazy is that, from when you were at a loss, I guess, with your mom being gone, and then to have your life completely change from what you thought that you were going to be doing. Do you have any desire even now to go back into medicine, or?
At this point, no, but I think the basic need to help others is the strand that weaves through all of this.
Yep. Yeah. And your experience too with the millionaire and all the different pieces of what you have described to me in little short stories of what you actually accomplished working for somebody like that, and all the different jobs
and meeting all the different types of people, famous, wealthy, what have you. And then you just realize people are people.
Yeah. Well, and my mom and dad always instilled in all of us that no matter what a title is, everybody still puts their pants on one leg at a time, or 2 legs at a time, however you want to put them on. But we all are people, and then I guess over the years I've heard too, we all bleed red.
Yes.
So and that's what I think I appreciate a lot about you, is that you treat everybody the same way.
Yeah.
There's no inconsistency in how you handle yourself or handle any situation with people, because you give everybody from a little kindergarten to a kindergartner to somebody who's a millionaire, the same type of respect, because you treat people the way you want to be treated.
And people know if you're genuine or not. That's why I won't give a compliment unless it's really genuine.
Yeah. Very cool.
But it's been fun because, in some respects, because some of the jobs that I've had, even the managing partner of the law firm, we called him by his first name.
Wow.
He wasn't pretentious, which is surprising because this was a very prestigious place. And the millionaire boss, he went by his first name, and he wore the Hawaiian bowling shirts, and I mean,
to this day, Hawaiian shirts are just not my favorite.
I know, but he rocked it. It worked for him. Some people can just carry a certain look.
Yeah.
It worked for him.
Yeah. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Favorite animal and why?
Dog. They're just they don't judge you. They treat you like a rock star when you walk in the door. And if you're not having a great day, you have to get out of bed to take care of their needs too. And they just have the biggest love.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one of the things that in the last year, because of me being an empty nester and then being the grand dog sitter, it's been helpful for me to actually get out of bed and get out of the funk.
Yeah.
So what types of things do you do to get yourself out of the funk, or do you never get in one? I laugh because I think we all do.
I think we're all capable of it.
Yeah.
This has been the best decade of my life. I mean, even though I've been through so much, I've developed more of a gratitude for things. But on the days that I do feel low, I'll call my friends. I've learned to reach out and not necessarily internalize so much. And, of course, my dog was that was my soul dog.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost him in October, and he was the best of the best. So, but, there's some days that just curling up with a soft blanket and a book is really kind of it.
Yeah. Yep. I know that this past weekend, I actually had a Saturday of just kind of I think I'm just going to sit home. And I forgot that in my 30s, that I used to do that a lot on Saturdays, just take Saturdays to myself and not feel guilty about it. And and that's really what got me through this past Saturday, doing that, because I'm like, who says I have to, always be
on the go?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So then what would three words that people would describe you or remember you by? I mean,
at this point, now that I'm past the shy phase, more dynamic, funny. I've got a great sense of humor.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily to say that everything is funny, but having a good outlook, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And mentor. I'm not the kind that will let someone freeze up or let someone suffer. I will help someone. I will answer direct questions and guide someone so that they are successful.
Yeah. I love those words or those descriptions of you. I would actually add too that you're very creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're a planner and you keep things, I don't know, I guess on task, if you will. So you're kind of my accountability partner.
Right.
So, and I appreciate that.
Because we've started some projects that has helped propel us forward.
Right.
And then when we start that, they're like, now that we should,
Yeah.
I think
just
it's really
kind of builds up.
Yeah.
And up. Yep. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
When you were talking about dogs earlier, so one of my favorite cartoon characters is Snoopy. And that might be, now that we're talking about it, where I developed a love for the plane, Snoopy Von Barron.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I did get to fly a biplane, it was in Key West, Florida.
Oh,
it was because of Snoopy.
It was in Key West,
Key West,
too?
Yeah.
My favorite place.
Yeah, because I lived in Florida for over a decade or so. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I also want to know, I ask everybody what your favorite holiday is.
So Halloween is mine.
I don't know. Is that really a holiday?
Sure is. Sure is.
Yeah.
So I have the Facebook page, COS Halloween, and for fellow spookies. And because it's a no pressure, it's a fun holiday, dress up. No one's expected to give gifts, though the candy, hand over the goods. But it's just fun.
Yeah.
And after that, though, I do like, see, that's a tough one for the rest of them.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to Christmas, I like the old-fashioned decor. There's just something charming, and it recalls you from the days of yore when your parents and your grandparents sat around.
Yeah.
Hanging out together and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So.
And then when we were with Ellen, we called you.
Yes.
And we asked you if you have a bucket list.
I do.
And I don't remember your answer, but we did laugh. I think you did say you did have a bucket list, but it was way too long.
Yeah. But one of the items on that list is, so I'm into genealogy as one of my hobbies. And I went back several generations on each side of my family. And this is back before we had the internet. This is when you went to the graveyards, you went to the Department of Vital Statistics, and you pieced together things, you interviewed your elderly relatives, this kind of thing. And my mom was fantastic at research, which is where I developed that skill. And she helped me to piece together on both sides. It goes back pretty far. And my husband is adopted. And so he wasn't necessarily wanting to know who the parents were as opposed to how it all came about, where his origin. And turns out genetically, when we did the test, the things that we have the most in common, those two countries, we would like to do a heritage tour because that's what we have the most in common. So on our bucket list, even though we both have done some traveling, we would like to go to the places where we know for sure our relatives were.
Oh, that's cool.
And take pictures and that type of thing.
And do you want to share where those are at?
So Ireland and Scotland.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people I know recently have gone to both places and they love it there.
We're such small countries. There's a lot of us saying we're from there.
Yeah. What are 3 events that have actually shaped your life?
Ooh.
And this is because, again, the whole purpose is to show people that our lives will change.
Yes.
So don't get so down in the dumps about.
Yeah. So different deaths, not just my mom, but friends. That's so unexpected. And then just whenever in life you've had a job loss and you have to reinvent yourself. After my divorce, I had to reinvent myself. It's the dynamics change, your friendship circles sometimes change, and you just figure out, where do I go from here? And then you figure it out. But when you're in that moment, you're like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
And then you look back and go, how did I do that?
Yeah.
But I've taken a few tumbles, but I've stuck the landing.
Very cool. Yes. And you're still here to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. I'm thanking you again, Sonya, for being my friend and actually coming and talking about your life experiences and sharing just how things can change and things can, you can make things better by, looking at things through a different lens.
Right.
You can reach out to Sonya with her information.
So I'm Sonya Emph with Red Bell Realty. My phone number is 719-888-0090. Sounds like a spam number, but it's not. We'll have a fun journey together.
I am Sandy Shook, and I am a mortgage advisor. I am here to help you go through your financial papers, just to see where you're at financially, to see whether you can actually get into a home, whether you can actually stay in your home if you are in something and refinance, or maybe even getting into those investment properties. I have a lot of great people that are working with me, Sonya being one of them. So give me a call, send me a message. Thank you for tuning in. Again, Sandy Shook. My number is 719-339-9637. Thanks, everybody.